Hello and what is up, my big blue collars? I am your foreman, and today we're going to be reading r/pro revenge, a Reddit community where people share their, well, if you're not stupid, their revenge stories. I think it was pretty well explained in the title. Regardless, today we're going to be reading a story from Present Platypus 578. Boss from Hell gets what she deserves. This sounds like a pretty interesting story. I sort of skimmed through it to see what it was all about, see if it was, going to be good enough for the video, because we only produce high-quality content here on Walking OSHA Violation. And it seems like it's a pretty interesting story, so without further ado, let's get into it. I would also like to mention that not only do I have raging allergies right now, but it is also about 2 in the morning at the time of recording this, and my family is asleep, and we have very, very thin walls in this house, so I apologize if I'm talking a little quietly, or if there's a little cut from here and there, because I will be, in fact, pausing the voice recording in order to cough, because this isn't a weird-ass ASMR video. This is a Reddit reading video. Total difference. Anyway, like I said exactly 30 seconds ago, let's get right into it. I, a 30-year-old female, have been a people pleaser to a fault my whole life. I've been working in marketing for 10 plus years. Over the years, I've had my fair share of bosses who were good, average, and some who sucked. There was one in particular that stood out as awful. This story is from about 5 years ago. Pamela, 40s, not her real name, was the VP of Marketing and Sales for a mid-sized retailer. She started at the company a few years after I did, and if rumors were true, she was the 4th pick for the position and was simply hired so the company could appease shareholders. I was a manager under her, and my whole job was to make sure the website and stores had their products merchandised properly, received all their monthly sales materials, managed advertising, set up and managed the department's budget, PM'd all department projects and operations, created reporting to reflect sales, managed presentation/creative briefs for future projects, etc. In short, I did her work and all the administrative grunt work to keep the department afloat. I managed all this because I had access to her email and many times sent emails on her behalf to keep the department functioning. Pamela spent most of her time showing up after 10 a.m., taking business lunches, and planning company parties. Don't even know why we did those, but I planned those too. Okay, so it sounds like your VP of Marketing and Sales did absolutely jack shit. And was getting paid to simply be a little face for the department. That sounds super fun. Yeah, let's continue. I consistently questioned why she spent so much of our budget on these events when we didn't have the budget resources for any of it. Pamela told me to take from future months' budgets to pay for the current month's overspending. So at the start of every month, I had an original budget. By the end of the month, I had to turn in an edited budget, edited under Pamela's direction, that made it look like Pamela's spending was under control. This is important for later. What the hell type of parties was she throwing to the point that you had to throw away your original budget and have to dip into next month's budget? Like, every company I've worked for, our little parties that we did were cheap as hell. For instance, I worked at Pizza Hut, and I know that's probably, nowhere near where you work in terms of how they throw company parties, but what we did was we just had our district manager. She went to Sam's Club, picked up some cookies, picked up some desserts, picked up, I think it was like easy to heat burritos and whatnot, and we just shoved it through our little oven, cooked it up, and we ate that in the back on top of just, food that nobody came to pick up for the day. And that was how our company party there worked. And then for places like Walmart and whatnot, they just gave us some cheap ass food or threw a pizza party. Like, what the fuck is she doing for her parties? I genuinely want to know. Was she like hiring fucking dancers and whatnot? Because these parties better be baller as hell if she's using 2 months worth of a budget for them. Especially since it sounds like your company probably provides a pretty decent budget for those parties. So she's having to dip into next month. I mean, they better be baller as hell, man. Shit. Anyway, let's continue. I definitely made mistakes here and there, being in charge of so many tasks, and constantly found myself working 12-hour days, split between being in the office and working after my kid went to bed. Weekend work was also done before my family woke up and after they went to bed. During Pamela's first major holiday season, sales were shit. Pamela kept changing her mind on the visuals for the stores, kept bringing on new advertising and PR agencies to bring in sales. All these agencies consisted of her personal friends and ignored our buying/merchandise team's planned promotions for her own better ones. At this time, I had been dealing with an ongoing infection that turned to sepsis and was hospitalized. The doctors and my husband said it was due to the stress of work and that I needed to take a break. My God, you don't get paid enough. I don't know how much you're getting paid, OP, but you are not getting paid enough if you're getting sepsis from stress. I forgot to pause the recording there. I hope you enjoyed my lovely cough. As I recovered, I realized how much I was hurting myself, my family, and even the company I worked for. Eventually, my old habits got to me, and I got on my phone and checked mine and my boss's emails. What I found made my blood boil. First, I got a lovely bouquet of flowers from upper management wishing me well, and I knew that Pamela organized the delivery. She sent me her favorite flowers. I went to her inbox to put the receipt in the correct folder to send to accounting when I got back. At the top of her inbox from the past 3 days were emails clearly not related to business. What I found in her emails was Pamela emailing her personal friends, griping on how I can't just shake off sepsis and get back to work. She also complained that she couldn't find any of my notes, spreadsheets, or documents for any of the work she was technically in charge of. They were on our shared drive, labeled very clearly. Finally, I found an email where she sent a friend from a previous company asking for advice on how to bring in sales and save her job. Brother. Not only does your boss here sound like a dumbass, clearly lied on her application to get this job, because there is no way they looked at her application. There's no way she was being truthful on her application if she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. Oh my God. This reminds me of so many coworkers I've worked with, and half of the management that I worked under in a couple of other jobs I've worked, because oh my God, I feel so sorry for you, OP. And shake off sepsis? What the? I can't curse too much on YouTube, obviously, but what the hell, man? Why can't you just shake off sepsis, man? That's like getting your arm cut off and your boss denying your leave of absence request. Oh, you can just walk it off, bro. You're bleeding from the stub that used to be your arm, you know? Oh, you can just walk it off. What the hell? You need to get your ass in here. You need to do some work. We actually need you to do some mandatory overtime. That's basically what she's saying. In this long thread, this old colleague asked if there was anyone managing most of the work, and of course Pamela said I was. This colleague explained that clearly it was my mismanagement that was causing issues, and that I could be blamed if sales didn't pull through by the end of the season. Pamela mentioned that I was in the hospital and repeated comments from her other email thread. This person said that she couldn't outright fire me because it could seem like retaliation because I needed to take emergency medical leave. But if Pamela could prove I was stealing from the company or misusing company resources, then she could have grounds to have me fired and use me as a scapegoat. Brother, what the hell? There's no way she doesn't know that you have access to her emails, bro. There's no way. You know what? I take that back. Your manager already sounds like a dumbass. Your VP, I'm sorry. Your VP already sounds like a dumbass, so clearly she probably just doesn't know. Upon my return, Pamela called me into her office and said she was worried I was taking on too much and wanted to take work off my plate. She announced I was managing the department budget. She announced she was managing the department budget off my plate. She asked me to only drop off a small stack of invoices to accounting. Additionally, Pamela told me under no circumstances was I allowed to talk to accounting about anything regarding budgets. Also, if I had any concerns about the department or workload, I wasn't to go to HR. I had to discuss it directly with Pamela. Oh yeah, I could see where this was going. That's a trick for sure. Fortunately for Pamela, I had built a rapport with Lois, 50s, not real name, who was our main accountant. Lois always said that she would do everything in her power to help me, should I ask. Knowing this, I grabbed the stack of invoices off Pamela's desk to give to accounting. I also added the email threads I read while I was in the hospital, and the current unedited budget that Pamela hadn't touched yet for the month. I also found in my filing cabinet the hard copies of old budgets with Pamela's handwriting on what numbers to change to balance our budget. Finally, I added an email from our first round of budget adjustments where Pamela subtly threatened to put someone else in my job if I couldn't do what she asked. So I walked and dropped off the invoices to accounting when I bumped into Lois. She brought up invoices and I sternly looked at her and said Pamela is the one in our department that Lois is allowed to talk to about our budget and invoices. Lois saw the suspiciously thick file folder on her desk, gave a firm nod, and lovingly kicked me out of her office. Here we go, bro. I think we're reaching the end. Then the week Pamela was fired. From what I understand, she has been continually job hopping for the past few years. The CEO and HR brought me in to personally apologize for everything I went through and gave me a paid 1-week vacation to take at my discretion. Given other issues with this business, I left after another year. Which brings me to today. I am once again a manager for sales and marketing. I have a wonderful boss, Mike, 40s, male, who trusts my business decisions, backs me up on practically everything. We are hiring my team for me to solely manage and direct. Today I looked through the applicants and found Pamela's resume sitting among dozens of others. I stared at her name, wondering how many other people share her name. Upon review, yep, it's her. She definitely fell down the corporate ladder, with VP of our old company being the highest title she earned. And, to no surprise, she embellished her achievements, claiming the work I managed as her own, and claimed she generated 87% sales growth during the holiday season at our previous company. As a people pleaser who firmly believes in giving everyone a chance, it has been so satisfying to click disqualified. Edit. To those suggesting I interview her to see her reaction, I would have loved to. I would have loved to see her face as she walked in, but I felt it would have risked my boss's trust in my decision-making ability. Maybe I'll send a personally written rejection email. That was a long one. A satisfying one at that. Your VP, your old VP, I should say. Oh my god. I know I said earlier that your old VP reminds me a lot of managers that I've worked under, and team leads I've worked under in different jobs. But somehow the team leads I've worked under and the managers I've worked under are not as stupid as your old VP. In fact, your VP makes them look like Einsteins. Like, absolute unbridled geniuses. Oh my god. And the ending where she got fired, I mean, that was just absolute gold. And then to apply to the new job that you work at, which clearly she doesn't know you know, would be the hiring manager there. But, oh, that's so satisfying, OP. Like, genuinely, I was smiling at the end there. I'm like, oh my god, it's getting juicy. Like, I was expecting a little bit more, you know, when it came to the revenge part, but, you know, this is satisfying nonetheless. I'm really happy that you did get a new job, OP, and I'm glad that, you know, I'm hoping it pays well, and I hope you like whatever job you're working at now. It seems you like sales and marketing, so being a manager, a higher-up manager, and one of those, I assume you're a pretty happy person now. Let's take a look at some of the comments. Yeah, y'all gonna hear my coughing. I know in the beginning of the video I said I was gonna edit that out. I'm not going to. Anyway, top comment is, you are clearly too nice. I would have definitely had HR call her to arrange an interview, assuming you would be sitting across from her. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing the face of someone like that when they see karma staring them in the face. Oh, absolutely, and a hidden camera to catch the look on her face when she saw you is one of the replies. A lot of people agree that she should have brought Pamela in for an interview. I personally, I would have loved to see it. That's something I would want to do, but at the same time, I can see where OP's coming from. That would, you know, risk the trust you have with your manager. Aside from that, it would be really cool to see that. A lot of revenge stories have that, but I can see where you're coming from, and I agree it was the smart decision to not do that. Another person told OP that they should have hired Pamela to be a bell ringer for Christmas. OP said, dang it, I should have done that. That would have been absolute gold. Someone else said you should have brought her in for an interview just to see the look on her face when she realized who she'd be interviewing with. OP replied with, I'm considering writing a personalized rejection email. You should have probably... You could probably have gotten HR to get on board with your interview if they knew the history and your plan going in. I don't think HR would have gone along with that. Don't get me wrong, you know, HR at some places can be pretty decent, but overall, when it comes to HR anywhere, I personally don't trust them. I haven't had a lot of good experiences with HR. I've had decent experiences, but I've never had a really good personalized experience with HR. We're going to read one more comment. Someone replied to her saying, as a people pleaser who firmly believes in giving everyone a chance, it has never been so satisfying to click disqualified. And he replied with, no, have her come in for an interview, let someone get the interview started, because you're running late. It will be the juiciest cherry on top to see her face when she knows she won't get the job. That's another thing about the interview. Okay, so we're gonna finish it off with this one. Random Stuff Yas said, this reminds me of the time when my former college algebra teacher, who was condescending AF, whenever we asked legitimate questions, he always hit with a, why don't you know that? Made us feel like shit about not knowing math. Walked into the university where I was working in the hiring office. When he walked in, I pretended not to recognize him, but I knew he knew me. So I'm pretty sure he also knew why he never got a call back from my boss about getting a job. That was a pretty good story. I hope you guys enjoyed. I've been your foreman. Subscribe to become a big blue collar, and I will see you all in the next one.